Want to go far in business and in life? You can't do it alone. The secret is expanding your network of personal relationships, building friendships, connecting on an intimate level, away from the office, over a coffee or cocktail. Welcome to All In with the real Nate Payo. The show that asks what happens when you go all in and leverage the power of your network of personal relationships.
From author Donnie Boivin comes the book, How to Be a Success Champion, available on Amazon. After years of living other people's dreams, author Donnie Boivin decided to jump out on his own and start a business, thinking it would be easy. Instead, he had a rude awakening and quickly understood that he had spent 20 years being an employee and had no idea how to be a business owner. His business was tanking, and he was on the brink of losing everything when he decided to fight for business freedom. In this must-read and life-changing book, author Donnie Boivin shares with readers his story intermingled with lessons learned from his mistakes and his failures. In How to Be a Success Champion, you will find advice the author received from mentors and how he went from zero to a six-figure business. The author walks you through the steps of how to get out of your own way, how to play the game of business and win, find your strengths, how to network effectively, how to build a personal brand, how to create champions for your business, how to get great at sales, how to take complete ownership of you and your business. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Boivin, available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Order your copy right now. It makes a great book for corporate events too. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Boivin, available on Amazon.
Hello. Welcome to the All In podcast with Nate Payo. Once again, I am your host, Nate Payo. My guest today is Donnie Boivin. Donnie was changing the game of business development. At the age of 22, right out of the Marine Corps, he struggled with what to do next. He landed his first straight commission sales job and spent over 2 decades learning what it takes to be successful in sales, business, and at life. At the age of 40, he discovered he'd been living other people's dreams and not chasing his own. Launching his own business, he found himself and grew an international business and became one of the world's top podcasters and started changing life. He knows how to help you change your mindset and up your game. His story about becoming a success champion in his own life has inspired thousands to get out of their own way and go for it. Get ready to have your fire lit and start chasing your own dreams. Welcome to the show, Donnie. How are you?
Good, brother. That's a hell of an intro. I mean, the guy who must have wrote that is an absolute genius. I mean,
he's definitely a smart dude. I take it you know him personally because he's.
I do. I wake up to him every day. So, and it's great to look in the mirror and he looks right back. So,
yeah. So as I was reading your bio, the thing that stuck out to me is this idea of you're chasing other people's dreams and not chasing your own. And then you go and do it and you inspire others to do the same. And I think I resonated with this because I look at this as like somebody like, yeah, you did it. You're doing the thing I wish I did. I've been in that spot in my life where I'm like, hey, I want to chase my own dreams, but I don't do it because I'm afraid of maybe getting started, really making waves or something. Like whatever it is, it's just going, fuck it, it's not for me. But then I look at somebody like you and go, they did it, man. That's like awesome. I want to be like that. And that's kind of what brought me on this journey of starting my podcast was like, hey, I got to overcome this self-doubt of being able to, if I want to do big things, I got to get uncomfortable and I can't just sit there and go, I wish I could do this and watch other people do it. So I love that you did that and that it also worked to inspire others to do the same.
Thanks, man. It's been a crazy ride, and I love telling people. I was 40 years old before I decided that it was time to bet on me. I didn't know I was living somebody else's dreams, and I damn sure didn't understand that I was going through life without any real vision or goals. I was always a damn good sales guy. So I don't want to say sales became easy for me, but I learned how to do sales, and, so I always found success in it. But I was in a position to where I was buying out my business partner, 7-figure business deal over 5 years. And we had gone out to dinner to celebrate, the past wins and successes of the past and everything. And as we're out there having a couple of cocktails, he starts down this path of telling me, how grateful he is to have me, and everything that I've done for him and his business and his family. And it was a phenomenal conversation. But during that conversation, he looked at me and said, I got to tell you, I'm completely grateful that you're my retirement plan. And in the moment when he said that, I don't know the exact words I said, but I guarantee I said something like, it's been my honor. I've loved it. It's been awesome. But when I got to my truck, I really rolled that around in my head, and I had my eyes, I remember them just popping wide open. And I went, oh shit, I'm somebody else's retirement plan. I'm literally making somebody else wealthy right now. And I look back over my entire journey thus far in life, and that's all I'd done, is work somebody else's plan, made other people a lot of money. And I did well, don't get me wrong, but not as well as they were doing based off of my work and efforts. And literally 15 days later from that moment, I jumped out and launched Success Champions, and walked away from everything. It was a unique awakening for me to understand that I wasn't living my journey. I was living, the dreams and journey of somebody else. And if you follow my stuff anywhere out there in the world, usually you'll hear about me running my business straight into the ground afterwards, because I had no idea how to be a business owner. But, that was kind of the catalyst to finally go, okay, it's time to bet on me. Let's figure this life out. And the only way I knew how to do it was to launch a business.
Was that something you were mulled around in the past before you came to that epiphany?
Nope.
Or is it just...
Nope.
Yeah,
no, this was a complete hip shot. I never had a desire to be a business owner. I never thought about it. It never crossed my mind. I wasn't sitting there going, I hate my job. It's time for something new. I wasn't miserable in life. I think I just was. I was okay being okay. And I had never really thought about it, which is interesting to look back on, because I think that's the story of my life, is I always kind of just went with the flow. I never sought anything out. I just took the next adventure that was in front of me and, kept moving forward. It took literally a statement to go, oh, wait a minute. No. You need to start looking at yourself to get me to go, holy shit, what are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to contribute in this life? So it was very, very, very fast, which is something I always seem to do with decisions, to not always the joy of my wife.
I think my wife might relate to yours in that sense of just jumping off the deep end without contemplating the fallout. But you know what I like about your thing is, like, you realize, like, hey, you're chasing other people's, or you're helping other people's dreams get solved, but you weren't chasing your own. You didn't have focus and idea of where you're going. But I think a lot of people, when they hear that, like, if you're not working on your own dream, you're working on somebody else's, there's this like idea that, like, oh, you have to quit working for the man and go start your own business. But that's not necessarily the truth. If you know what your long-term vision is of how you want your life to be, you can put yourself in a position to be the best version of yourself, and learning skills, learning ideas, educating yourself above and beyond like your current role in a job. Because I think even if you like do things that would say like, hey, this is taking yourself down a path of being an independent business owner, you're going to make yourself more valuable, I think, in the job too. And then you don't get into this point where you're like, oh crap, I didn't realize it, but I don't have the flexibility to live the life I wanted to live because I got just kind of like pigeonholed into one source of income or one ideas, or I can't leave to go somewhere else. And it's not saying you need to leave. It's just saying like, hey, when you're locked into something, it makes it a lot harder to have flexibility. But if you have a lot more options available, it also makes you more valuable, I think, where you're at with the company, because you can provide so much more. And it's like, hey, there's like this parachute, I guess you say, hey, if things go sideways, I got something to fall back on. So you don't have to like hold yourself back because you're worried to ruffle in feathers or doing something you shouldn't do and maybe lose your job. You go, oh shit, that's all I got. No, I got a million other things I could fall back on. But because I have that confidence, now I can do my current role even better because I'm just like doing it with me and as the passion, and I'm a better version of myself than trying to like hold myself back a little bit to not get in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't agree with the phrase that if you're not working your plan, you're working somebody else, because I was working the plan that I knew, right? I didn't have any lofty visions. I did a lot of daydreaming. You had the typical, this is what would I do if I won the lottery, or if, this is, how I would take care of my family if more cash came from, out of the sky type crap. But I think that with the viewpoint I had, I was kicking ass. I was making great money. I was helping other people, and I wasn't miserable in the task. After I got out of doing sales training, because that was the last career I had, I realized that there was aspects of it that I didn't enjoy, but I didn't understand it till I got out of it. But I think as long as a person is getting joy in what they're doing, they're not working somebody else's plan. They're moving forward in their own life. And yeah, I'm frustrated with the notion that everybody should be an entrepreneur right now, because that seems to be like this huge message in the marketplace. And although I do believe that most people will find themselves on the journey to being a business owner, and a journey, when there's no one left to blame in this world, all the excuses go out the window, when you're a business owner. And I think that was one of the biggest eye-opening things for me. But, the idea that everybody has to be an entrepreneur to chase their dreams is absolute bullshit, because there's so many people. I mean, hell, I got people that work for me that are doing some amazing things. They're happy. They tell me on a constant basis how they get to spend time with their family, do some of the things, because we have a very free atmosphere with what we do. But, you don't have to be a business owner to work the plan you want to work. Working for somebody else can absolutely be the financial catalyst that allows you to do the things that, your bigger plan is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll even throw in there Mark Cuban. If you've ever read his book, he's got a great book out there, and don't ask me what it's called. I forget, but, he talks about his entire career was based on going and getting skill sets so he could be a business owner someday. So he didn't know anything about computers, so he got a computer job. He didn't know anything about sales, so he got a sales job. He didn't know anything about accounting, so he found himself in an accounting position. And everything about his life and working for other people was to learn a particular skill set so he could up-level his game. And then later found himself into a CEO role. But it's all about how you look at life and how you show up.
Mm-hmm, for sure. So I usually ask my guests this question, and I'm interested to see what your take is on it. But what does the words luck mean to you? What does that conjure up in your mind? Are people lucky?
Yes, I 100% believe people are lucky, and here's why. You've heard all the cliches that luck is preparation meeting opportunity, blah, 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 and all the shit, right? And you got some people that's like, no, luck's not a thing. Here's the deal. I've gotten really lucky over my years. I've closed some big-ass deals that I didn't think I was going to get, and I got lucky. And I got lucky because I put in the time. I got lucky because I put in the work, and I did the actions on a consistent basis. I got lucky with some of the jobs I got over the years. I mean, fuck, I was hired out from behind a bar to go start a division in a $40 million company. Who does it? Who hires a 24-year-old kid from behind a bar and says, I want you to start a digital print, a sales division inside of our company? Right. I mean, that's luck, right? That's not right place, right time, anything. That's 100% luck. Now to set that up, I told them, that I came from a sales background, but they were more after me, because of my personality and my ability to talk to people. They didn't know anything about my sales prowess. They didn't know anything about my skills, anything. They just took it on that they thought that I was a good dude that could talk to anybody. That's luck.
Yeah.
But, so I think, I don't know if you create luck, but I do know as long as you are putting yourself in the right place, doing the right things, you got a better shot of lucky shit happening to you than sitting on your freaking thumbs and not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer in be in the right places. Like everybody says, be in the right place at the right time. Well, you don't know when the right time is.
Correct.
But if you have a destination in mind of where you want to take your life, you can figure out where those places are, where the opportunities are more likely to be successful. And you put yourself in front of these people. And the more opportunities you put yourself in front of, the more chances I think you're going to have for success. But the other thing is you have to be aware of it. You have to be ready to work on the action. Like there's a ton of times, and you've probably been in the same boat, where like you're trying to think of something and the answer was right beside you the whole time, but you just weren't ready to see that the solution was there, and you go, oh shit, it's been here the whole time. I think that is being aware of the message being there. So like you could have been offered this job and said, you know what, I'm just the guy behind the bar. Like, who am I to go start a division? Like, you guys are crazy. And then like, I'm not going to call the guy. He was drunk, whatever. He had too many drinks. So it pitters out, or it could be you call the guy, hey, come out and start it, and it sets your career down a path of starting a division, which leads to other things and leads to more and more and more. And you go, okay, now I'm starting to become more aware of the opportunities around me. I know I have confidence to take them on, and they don't all work out, but you're along for the journey. You're going to see more successes that benefit and outweigh the failures too. So.
Yeah, no, and I like that. I do agree the right place, and it's always hard to pick right time. But I also like the idea of you saying, being in the right place, because, you and I have had a few conversations offline talking about going to your conferences and all the things you've done with your career. And, what popped in my head is, yeah, you're going to get lucky at some of those conferences just because you showed the fuck up. Right. Just because you were there around people who could say yes to your service and offerings. And that was a lot of my sales career, was finding myself in the right rooms, finding myself in the right conversations. So I could get lucky, and cool things can happen. Some deals I closed over the years were absolute kick ass. I just sold my ass off. Right. And we won the deal, but there's oftentimes when we weren't sure where we were with the deal. We weren't sure if we were winning, and we got lucky and we won the damn thing, so, but it's, I like your thought process of looking for the right places at the right time and showing up and making sure your ass is in the right room so you have that chance to hit the right moment. So it's a good thought process.
I'm a big fan of that. Like if you don't know where you want to go, like you just have a general idea, you want to find out about something, like go where those people are, and you're going to get introduced to somebody that's going to introduce you to the answer you have, whether it's a hobby, business, job, whatever. The more you hang out in that area, like the more chances somebody's going to give you a little tidbit, a little knowledge, a little bit of information, then that you can take it and grow from. And so it's a good place, a good starting point if you don't know where to get going. So let's talk a little bit about Success Champions and what is Success Champions. What kind of brought this on? What was your inspiration to create it?
So it's funny. When I launched the business, I had the idea that everybody should be the champion of their own success. And when I think of a champion, I really think of like Brad Pitt in the movie Troy. The opening scene, you got the two big ass war tribes, getting ready to duke it out for this big ass war. And the kings come together and they say, you pick your best, I'll pick my best. And the one side picks this gargantuan dude with muscles popping out of everywhere. And the other king goes, get Brad Pitt. And Brad's drunk and passed out in a brothel. And they drag his ass out into the sunlight and they get him out there. And the king's like, you're supposed to fight for me. And Brad's drunk as shit. And he's like, I got this. Brad puts his helmet on. The gargantuan dude is screaming and hollering, getting ready to kill him. Brad runs up, does one move, stabs a guy in the neck, fight's over, war's done. Mm-hmm. And what I always thought about is if I could be the guy that chose me, every time I needed me to show up to find success, I could champion my own life. But all too often, I wasn't choosing me to be the guy out front. Right, I was riding on the coattails of somebody else. I was trying to put somebody else on a pedestal. I wasn't betting on me, right? I wasn't the one trying to put myself in there. So based on that concept, I wanted to teach people how to champion their own success, how to choose themselves and put themselves in the game and go for it. So I started off wanting to be a motivational speaker. And in my local hometown, dude, everybody knew who I was. In Fort Worth, Texas, man, I had a really good brand. Everybody knew who I was. But outside of Fort Worth, nobody had a fucking clue who I was. It was like Donnie who. And I wasn't prepared for the amount of work it was going to go into becoming a motivational speaker and how long it was going to take to ramp up. So while I was heading down that path and not succeeding well at all, I had to find a way to make revenue. So early on, I was just saying yes to anything I can get my hands on, right? Mm-hmm. Can you do a website? Sure. Can you do graphics? Sure. Can you do a video? Sure. And I was trying to figure out what the hell my business was. And that's how I ended up ultimately running into the ground because I really didn't have a business, you know? Mm-hmm. So along the journey, I found podcasting, and podcasting taught me a lot about business. It taught me about operations and systems and processes, and it taught me about hiring staff and bringing people on. And all the while, I was still working through teaching business development. I was still teaching, sales and, a little bit of motivational type things in here. And we started building more and more and more things. And as the podcast grew, we were able to add in more things. So I was doing more. My non-compete finally got up so I could go full into sales training. And so I started doing a lot of sales training for companies and corporations, but more and more people kept asking me, how was I able to find success, in doing this? So I started teaching how my business was taking off and growing. And that led to a lot of cool opportunities. I went around the US speaking about podcasting and did a 9-city tour in Ireland speaking about podcasting, and just kind of teaching a lot of things that I'm doing. And that sprung off some cool business programs where we were doing, private Facebook groups, teaching business development and sales to entrepreneurs and small business owners. And then, somewhere along the way, corporations started coming to us and they're like, hey, we want to launch a podcast. So we set up a whole division in the company that consults with corporations and how to actually use their podcast to be their lead generation business development tool and put some cool things behind that. Then that grew into, we launched a Facebook group that took off. We launched a magazine because people were asking for content that took off. We're at almost 10,000 subscribers for that now. And it kept growing with different divisions under this entire idea. Everything's under the brand of how do you champion your own success? But the Facebook group kept asking for more and more things. So we were like, okay, let's do the biggest, craziest thing we can think of. So I rented out a local convention center and we were doing the Badass Business Summit. So I had 12 speakers coming in from across the world. And we were, creating this huge business development summit of how to write your book, how to get on stages and all those things. Well, then COVID hit. So the conference was supposed to be April 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So it got postponed to the end of September of 2020. And we were in a spot where our business was 90% online already. And we knew that there was a lot of businesses that at that moment when COVID shut down the world that had no idea how to move their business online. So we knew we had to help give back as much we could, add another revenue stream to the business. So we launched Success Champions Networking. And what that is we bring together the second tier networkers. So these are the people that have been through the B&Is, they've been through the chambers, they've been through the local networking, and they've leveled up beyond those groups. There's nothing wrong with those organizations. I love them. But they always found that they were the number one in those groups that were passing all the referrals and not getting much in return. So we created these virtual networking groups. We put the badasses of the badass networkers together. And they meet on a weekly basis and really work on growing each other's business, because I believe networking is about growing somebody else's business. And it took off. At 4 weeks in, we had 12 chapters across the U.S., and referrals were already happening and things were going. Now, 2 months into launching those groups, we've got 19 chapters across the U.S. We just got the nod this morning of recording this to open up Canada, and we're getting ready to open up chapters in the U.K. So we're literally helping businesses be the champion of their success by getting the badasses together and letting them run and go big, because you can't help it when you get the badasses together that understand that networking group is just a function of their business development. It's not all of it. You know, they're heavily involved in their community. They're sitting on boards. They're working with nonprofits. They're actively engaged in their associations and stuff. And they bring that connection list and those people to that networking group. Now imagine you got 30 of those people sitting around the table. You can't help but have a massive amount of business being passed. And that's what we've built out with this. And then in addition to that, all the business development and sales training that we've been doing over the years, we offered that to everybody who joined Success Champions Networking. So everybody who's joining one of these networking groups gets access to sales training, where I was paid $250,000 a year in some companies to train their salespeople. They're getting that as part of being part of the Success Champions Networking. So we do a live training every Thursday at 10. So not only are they networking with their local chapter, getting business development, sales training, now they're networking with everybody from all over the world that's part of Success Champions Networking. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the combination that's really made it work. So it's all centered around, you know, being the champion of your success. And we're going to continue bringing things to the marketplace that make that easier for people to do.
You know what's funny is you talk about the champion, and I think a lot of people, especially business owners or new business owners, they see somebody that's the champion of their own life, that's just out there as the face of their company or the face of their sales. Like people, you know, Success Champions by itself is one thing. Donnie's Success Champions, like people know Donnie, yeah. and so like other businesses have that. They have that persona. They're the business owner, they're the face of the company, then they're the main person out there. And they also have this huge network of people. And so if somebody's getting started and they're nervous, I think they're afraid to be a champion for themselves. They want to like, well, I just want to be behind the scenes. I want the brand to speak for itself, or I want my salesperson to be the face of the brand, and I'll sit back and just do the operations. And then they don't go out networking, because networking's scary. It's not fun. I have to talk to people I don't know. I'm going to get wrapped up in some conversation that's going to go nowhere. I'm going to have to get pitched to. I'm going to have to tell people no. I'm going to have to tell people about my business, and I'm going to get told no. There's so many things it doesn't. But those people didn't start out like that way. And because they decided to become the face of the company, and because they became super concerned about, like, it's not the networking to like, hey, what can I do for you? And what can you do for me? It's, hey, who in my network can I introduce you to that's going to solve your problem? And the more resources you have, the bigger your toolbox is of networking. It's not like, oh, I know 1,000 people, everybody loves me. It's like, no, I have 1,000 resources to solve problems. And if you have a problem, I know somebody that I can connect you to. And if I'm a badass, I'm going to refer you badass people that are going to solve your problem. I'm not going to go, hey, you need a web developer? Well, my cousin Joe, he does, web developing because he watched a video on YouTube and he kind of could do it. You're like, no, I got the guy that's done all this other work, amazing stuff, and just taken it to the moon. And so these connections happen. And when you start passing out these really amazing referrals, people like want to serve you back, and they go back. And it doesn't always happen overnight, and they have to be patient, but it takes time. You build up this amazing network. And by doing that, you become the face of whatever it is you're doing. People know you. You don't have to be loud and gregarious and typical used car salesman if that's not your thing, but people start knowing who you are personally by being out there, and you find your voice, you find your way of doing business and making friends and relationships and serving others. And then when you need something, people are there to support you. And so it does. No,
I totally love this, because for me, it's top of mind. And that's what I always go to is whatever your industry field company is, you have to be the top of mind person for that industry, that field, your business and everything else. And that's part of being the face of the company because, and I'll go back to when I did sales training in Fort Worth, Texas. If sales came up, I promise you my name was coming up right along with it. Because I was doing everything in my power to maintain top of mind, going to all the after hours, going to the association, being heavy in the chambers, and doing everything I could to keep my name out there. And the biggest key of that was opening doors for others. If anybody's ever read that whole 6 degrees of separation thing, I mean, you can get to anybody within, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? Wasn't that the funny video Once Upon a Time? Mm-hmm. But in this day and age, it's that gap is getting smaller and smaller because the world is continuing to get more and more virtual. So you can make more and more introductions in a more timely manner. And the interesting thing is people don't often understand that they don't buy your business. They buy you. And if you don't believe me, go to any company that has salespeople in general. And what happens when that salesperson leaves the company? Non-competes be damned, the clients typically follow the salesperson because they're working with that individual. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever been in sales and you've had a big account where your contact left and a new contact came in and you lost all that business, it's because you didn't have a relationship and they brought their people in. People buy from people. And if you're not the face of the company, you're relying 100% on the brand, you're going to lose. It's a reason you see these big CEOs coming out and doing their commercials and everything else, because they understand that if I have a relationship and could put a face with a brand and put a handshake with a brand and put a conversation with that brand, then I'm buying from Bob, not XYZ company. Mm-hmm. And the fascinating thing for me behind that is when something goes south, let's say you screw up a job, you don't deliver on time, whatever it is, you can never forgive a brand. A brand has no heart. Mm-hmm. But if Nathan calls me up and says, dude, we fucked up. I totally apologize. 100% my fault. This is what I did wrong. This is how I'm going to fix it going forward. Make sure it doesn't happen again. Cool. I can fucking forgive Nathan. But if only there's only a brand out there, there's only my salespeople out there, then you're going to burn so many bridges eventually out there that you're going to destroy everything you've tried to build. You have to become the face of the company, mm-hmm. Just to make top of mind.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that. My day job, 9 to 5, what I've built my career on is being a buyer. And all the things that we do rely on relationships. And it's relationships of who can get, the good deals, who can, deliver on time, who can we call if there's a problem. So I'm in construction. And so it's a Wild West show sometimes, and things go wrong, a million things, and it really revolves around people who can execute on this stuff. And so you need somebody you can call on a Saturday night, say, hey, stuff didn't happen, I need you out here on Monday. And if you don't have those relationships with people, you can't call those things in. But you're right, there's so many salespeople that they'll leave a company and we'll be like, well, to us, like there's minor differences. Like if you're selling me cabinets, you go, cabinet's a cabinet. It's a wood box with a wood door and a hinge. Like as long as it shows up on time and it doesn't fall apart, like we're gonna not really care if it's A company or B company, and we make an assumption that like, hey, there's 2 or 3 people in the industry that have a equal product that can serve the purpose. Can you deliver? Is it not going to fall apart? And is it of decent quality? And after that, you could say, well, our hinge is a little bit better. Our like glue is just a little bit better. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like if this salesperson goes over here, and I know that I can call that person up if there's a problem and get stuff handled. And if I don't know who's going to be taking my place, or they don't have that same level of service and that same level of trust, like I don't want to put my career, my reputation at risk because the company didn't deliver. Like, no, then that means I didn't deliver. So I'm going to go with the people I trust and know that like, hey, can you get it handled? Yeah, I get it handled. Okay. We'll figure out the ins and outs of the deal. Like we'll make it work, So you're so right that you have to be, if you're not the face of the company, then somebody else is. And if they choose to leave, you're going to lose, you're going to take a big hit, and it's going to take a while to build that back up,
Well, and to that point, talking to salespeople in general at the moment, a lot of times in big sales like that, where you're trying to land a major construction client, this, that, and the other, It's the ability to stay around long enough until their current vendor fucks up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you're top of fucking mind. So you get the phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you better answer the phone. I mean, and it's part of the top of mind is, it's constantly being out there. And, for the CEOs to say that I don't want to do that, I don't want to put my brand out there. I don't want to put you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because if you're top, when I was buying things a lot, and even now for my company, a lot of times I want to be able to pick up the phone and go, "Hey, CEO, what the fuck?" Right? To another company. I want to have that line. I'll buy from a sales guy all day long, but if the sales guy can't fix it, I want to be able to get up the ladder. And if I don't know who the hell you are, what the hell are we doing business for? So I just go back to, you got to get in game. You got to be top of mind. You got to be putting out content. You got to be doing the things to just show up in this damn world.
I love what you said about like, hey, you're waiting for that person to mess up, because people call me up all the time and they say, "Can I bid your work?" And I said, "Sure, you can bid my work, but you're not getting the job." Like, you go, the first job you bid, you're not getting. The second job you bid, you're probably not getting that one either. Like, you're going to have to show up and bid a few times to show that you're consistent, that you're willing to put in the work. But I guarantee you that there'll come a time where somebody will mess up or will need somebody to fill in. And who am I going to call? The guy that just showed up one day and knocked on my door, or the guy that's been knocking
left
on
a pamphlet of papers and shit on the desk.
But if you've been knocking on the door begging for the work and shown that you're resilient, show that you're really putting in the effort to develop this relationship, you're going to get your shot, and then when you get your shot, then it's your turn to prove it. And then that's when you become, the top go-to vendor for that.
What's really funny to me about that, Nathan, is the person that shows up the one time, drops off the packet of papers, you're in their pipeline, right? You're like, they're going back and telling their boss, "Oh my God, I got a meeting. We're going to close this fucking thing." And they have no clue that they haven't even started down the path of getting anywhere close to getting business with you guys. I just, dude, if you don't launch a podcast or show or get on stage and start talking about the buyer's perspective, I am going to put my foot up your ass, because it is so fascinating being a sales guy talking to a buyer and seeing your guys' perspective from it. And dude, I'm telling you, it's valuable, and the marketplace needs it.
Yeah. I definitely agree and see that there. So that brings me to my next question, which is the idea of being all in. What does being all in on an idea or an outcome mean to you?
This is interesting. So while working for somebody else, I would have told you it's putting in more hours. It's outworking other people. It's always showing up and going bigger and doing more. That's what I would have told you while working for somebody else. 3 years into running my own business, I can tell you I was an idiot with that thought process. And here's why. Being all in means there's no outs. When I launched my business, I walked away from an almost 7-figure income. I walked away from all health benefits. I walked away from everything I built, 401ks, investment. I walked away from it all and launched my business within 15 days. I do not recommend that to anybody, by the way. I ran my business straight into the ground. One of the things I discovered in doing that is there was no one left to blame. I couldn't pass the buck. I couldn't say the marketing sucked. I couldn't say the economy sucked. I couldn't say clients sucked. I couldn't say anything because it was all on me. If you want to be all in, it's all got to be on you. And you got to have no backup plan. You've got to go the fuck in and say, "World be damned, here I come." Because if you have any sort of plan B, backup plan, whatever, it's going to become a crutch. It's going to become something you fall back on. And the most fascinating thing about running a business is that's how I finally figured out who I was. Mm-hmm. Because when you're stacked up against it and there's no one else left to blame and you got to take ownership of everything, you figure out really quick what you're fucking good at and what you suck at. Mm-hmm. And that to me is all in, is there is no choice but to take action and move forward.
Yeah, that's for sure. There's like a video, Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about that. Like, he didn't have a backup plan. You just if you have a backup plan, you're going to fail. And I think that that's a good analogy, because there's a lot of times where I would go out and I would try to start something. And when it would get tough, I'd be like, "Oh, this doesn't feel good. I don't like it. What am I doing?" Like, I'll just go back to what I was up to, because I knew it. It was safe, and it was good. It's led me to where I'm at too. But at the same time, that itch would come back, and I would want to push the limits of something. But when you're not up against the wall, you're not going to really test yourself and figure out solutions to create it. So if that's your only thing, and you have a problem, you're going to rack your brain trying to find a solution. If it's plan B, plan A was a little too hard. Like, screw it, we're going to plan B, because plan B is a lot easier. You'll never really test your limits and see if you can be that champion that you're calling out to fight the battle for you. You're like, oh, Brad Pitt's drunk in the pig slop barrel. Like, screw it. Like, get the next guy. Like, then maybe you lose the battle because you have the backup plan. So
it's interesting. I was talking to one of the members of Success Champions Networking yesterday. He reached out to me. He said, "Dude, I'm just kind of in the dumps. I need a conversation." So, all right, cool. Let's have a conversation. And he's like, "I don't know what the next move in business is." He goes, "I'm doing well, but I don't know what the next move. I feel like I'm stuck." And, we started talking, and I said, "You only have one problem." He goes, "What's that?" I said, "You have too many escape plans." And, he loves leadership. So he talks about leadership from time to time. He runs a website company, by the way. He loves podcasts. So he goes on and tries to start a podcast every once in a while. And he's got all these things that take him away from actually growing and moving forward. And I said, you hear all the time in the marketplace that you got to fail to move forward. What people often think about is they think about the failures in the wrong way. They think about divorce. They think about, losing money. They think about losing cars. They think about anything else. The failure I want people to experience is the shit where they've made a bad decision in business and they go, well, that sucked. How do we do it better? Or they make a bad cold call. They make a bad outreach. They make a bad business decision to try a new marketing line and it doesn't work, right? They go into things knowing shit's going to break, but they do it anyways so they can evolve and level up. When you have escape plans and you have the easy buttons and the easy routes, you're always going to take it because that's how we're programmed. It's how we're wired, is to take the easy route. So when you have that backup plan, it's so easy to go, well, fuck it, this is tough, like you were saying, and go back this other direction. You got to have nothing. You got to be that lieutenant colonel that was in Vietnam attacking that island and had the engineers blow up the fucking bridge, and he looked at them all and said, look, we're outnumbered 7-1. Bridge is gone. We either win this island or we all die. Your choice. Mm-hmm. And the only reason they can tell the story is because they won the island. But, that's it. No excuses, no backup plans, and head straight towards a badass vision.
Yeah, I love that. So the people that you're looking to work with in Success Champions, who does that person look like, smell like? What do they think like? Who's that ideal person for you?
Yeah, no, it's such an awesome question that I've actually never been asked on a podcast before, so good on you. For me, I want the second tier people. I want the people, and what I mean by second tier is I want the people that have been in the game a couple of years. They have, done things, found successes, and are ready to go to the next notch. I don't want the rookies. That's what other organizations and things are for, and we need those organizations. But we want the second tier folks that understand that by surrounding themselves with other badasses, they're going to grow. So you're looking at traditionally small business owners that are sprinkled throughout the world, 2 or more years in business, are heavily involved in their communities. They're probably sitting on boards or a part of massive associations. They regularly invest in themselves from ongoing learning and training. They're traditionally a 6-figure business or larger, or they hold a 6-figure business or larger. And they are easily defined as what we call GSDs, get shit done people. They're the people that you hand a task to and it just gets taken care of. Not a lot of questions, not a lot of directions. Just give it to me. I'll take care of it. Mm-hmm. When you put a group of get shit done people together, and trust me, and you say get shit done, people are like, that's me, right? Yeah, they self-identify really, really quick. When you give me those people, man, we can do some badass, massive things. And we have a whole bunch of different products we can offer, but especially put them in the networking groups right now, God, we can explode their business.
GSD, I love that. That like, you're right, because people that do get shit done, they identify like, I might not be, the most eloquent, I might not be the most polished, I might not get it done the prettiest, but you want it done, it's getting done.
Yeah,
like,
and they're so easy to spot. You go anywhere, and you'll see them because people are like, you're like, hey, who do I talk to about? Talk to Sally. She's got you. Like, cool. Yeah. I want Sally. So now I want a room of Sally's, right? Because they're the people that don't get undecisive. They get in the game and they keep moving forward. And it is such a fascinating thing to watch them collectively grow. And it's like this amoeba of badassery that happens because they're constantly pushing the envelope. And they keep me on my toes. I have a mastermind that I'm running right now that's just filled with some badasses. And, I can't go in there half-assed because they're on their fucking game. And I remember one mastermind we finished up and the gal looked at me. She goes, Donnie, this one sucked. I'm like, why did this one suck? She goes, I don't know what my action steps are in here. She goes, next time, don't come to the table without very specific action steps. I'm like, we got it. Not a problem. And it just totally, I went, oh, fuck, this is a whole next level thing. But when you go to work on the badasses, you're going to level up yourself. You're going to evolve yourself. That's why I love to get shit done, people. It just makes life.
And I can attest to that. The people you've introduced me to are all just like GSDs, and they bring this level of excitement to the game, and I think they raise your level of play too. You're like, hey, I'm playing at a higher level. Like these people, like I got to catch up, or I'm not gonna like be able to keep pace with them, and they're out there crushing it. So I love being around people like that, and I agree. If you identify as a GSD, like check out Success Champions. So where can people get connected with you? Where should they go to find you and everything you're about?
The easiest thing to do is, this is what I mean, if you want to get connected with me, cool, but I'd rather give you a reason to get connected with me. So one of the biggest things I struggled with, especially running my business, was how to come up with content on a regular basis. We know content is killing it right now on social media. So along this ride, I have learned a lot of cool tools, techniques, and things to put out content. So if they will text, I am a success champion, to 817-318-6030. Of course, we're going to ask for your email. We'll send you over a course where I taught a room of 20 small business owners virtually how to create endless content in about 20 minutes. It's the entire training. It's a 45-minute training where I walk them through every program we use. All the programs are free. They can get their hands on, but they can create a massive amount of content doing shit they're already doing and put it out there. So I am a success champion, to 817-318-6030, and you'll get that free training coming through. And it's also cool because that training was done before we launched Success Champions Networking. And so that was where all the people going through the business development sales training courses that we've been teaching, which is now part of Success Champions Networking. So if you join a networking group, you get that training ongoing a month. I mean, $47 a month to be a part of a networking group and, get ongoing sales and business development training. The pretty fucking badass deal.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Awesome. Well, I encourage everybody to reach out, connect with Donnie, send a text message, check out his website. All those links will be on the show notes, so it shouldn't be any problem finding him. And just my short interactions with you and your Facebook group and the people I've been introduced to. These are the type of people, if you want to level up your game, you're going to want to hang out with these people because you're going to rise up with them. They're all going places. And I think if you're willing to put in the work and get shit done, you're going to ride some coattails. It makes it a little bit easier when you're around better people. So for sure. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Oh, brother, I appreciate it. Let me do one last thing for you. So if you're listening to this podcast, guys, do me a favor. If you got any nuggets out of this, any value whatsoever, do me a favor and go teach somebody else how to tune into this podcast, the All In podcast. Because here's the thing that I know being a podcaster, people are still figuring out how to listen to podcasts. They're still figuring out how to tune in. So, if you want to give Nate one of the greatest gifts you can give him, go tell one or two friends how to tune in and listen to the show. It'll mean everything to him. Reviews are nice, likes and comments are nice, but get the subscribers for him that really want to listen to the show. It'll mean everything to him. So
appreciate that. Appreciate that referral. Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. This is a small world, and really success is all about growing other people's businesses. So whatever I can do to help.
Appreciate it.
Make sure to visit our website, therealnatepeo.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, so you'll never miss an episode of All In. While you're at it, if you found value, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if simply tell two friends about the show. Looking to connect? You can find Nate Peo on LinkedIn or Instagram.